Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Waldzak, and in the upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own. He's college, Cottrell.
Gentlemen, how are we feeling this fine Wednesday evening?
We should start our engines. That's what I'm feeling.
We got a pile of crap.
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
no, I feel great. I'm good.
You've throat gremlins over here got you guys down.
Well, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. I just have a little bit of esophagus, but I play hurt, right? I play hurt. I don't have any issues with playing hurt. I'm 85%. My mind is mentally checked in. I'm fired up about NBA basketball, Phillies baseball, UFC. I didn't even watch the card, bro. So when we talk about that, I'm going to go take a break, come back. It was boring. Terrible. I don't want to talk about it. We have to talk about it. But I'm fired up. NBA playoffs are here. And that's what I'm fired up about. So I kind of wanted to get your take on the NBA playoffs. But before we do that, I got to introduce Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross, the 17th.
Sick as a dog, Shally. But like Gene said, big time players play hurt and they play sick. That's how I get the Cal Ripken streak going on. So I'm here.
Bro, I heard you're gonna lose the Cal Ripken streak.
It was close. I mean, I'll tell you this.
You're gonna lose it.
If the show was yesterday, it might have gone down.
Okay. No, but isn't there like a date in the future where you're like definitely can't make it?
Possibly in July. We'll see.
See, that's what I mean. Like we have to figure out a way to get this to work because Shally is the only person, the trivia question that we can have later, that's made every show. All 187 of them. And if you guess Shally on your bingo cards to be the only one to make all 187, I don't know what to tell you. I would not have guessed that. That would not have been my first guess.
I mean, showing up and showing up on time are different things.
Well, that's fair. He's definitely had the most camera issues on the show.
Yeah. I don't miss shows, though.
He doesn't miss
He's
shows.
here one way or another. He's here. If it's just audio or something, he's here.
I might log on 30 seconds before we go live, but I'm here.
Where there's a bill, there's a way.
I like it. Control.
I don't like that.
I do. That's a T-shirt.
I like dollar bill. I'm going to go with dollar bill. Can we go dollar bill? That's my thing. I like that. Dollar bill.
No.
Dollar bill. That's from Billions. There's a character already named that, though.
Dollar bill, y'all. No, but we got to get rolling. We got a lot to get into. And before the game starts, I want to talk about the Knicks-Pacers series. Now, I just want to remind everybody at home. I picked the Knicks to win the series. I do like our Villanova Wildcats that are on the Knicks team. As much as I hated them from last round, I can't not like Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo. I can't dislike those guys. I love them. Right? I do. They brought me a championship. But man, as an unbiased person that watched that game, and I'm not rooting for Indiana. I'm not. I'm probably rooting for the Knicks in the series. I want to see Knicks Celtics. But as an unbiased person that watched that basketball game, it looked like it was officiated, a little leaning, a little home cooking. Nothing that was like out of the ordinary until 26 seconds were remaining on the clock. And then the whistles were like, we're going to just find a way to screw Indiana in this game. And I was baffled. First, it was the kickball that didn't get reviewed, couldn't get reviewed, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. And then Brunson throws the ball away. Terrible pass. And they call a moving screen. Now, granted, by the letter of the law, is it a moving screen? Yeah. By the NBA playoff standards of what they're calling and the physical contact they're allowing in these series, the entire game, to make that call with 22 seconds left on the clock, it takes a special kind of stupid to do that. And I don't know. Now, it just seems to be a trend, and maybe it's my own. I really want to say I'm not biased when I talk about this topic, so I want to get your opinions on it. But the Philadelphia 76ers filed a grievance against the NBA after the first two games, the officiating, especially game 2, the end where Tyrese Maxey was borderline molested, like when the ball was coming in. And now we're looking at this game 1, and it just seems like a lot of questionable, shoddy officiating. in New York's Knicks games. Cottrell, you were not involved, right? You have a dog in this race. You're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. You don't have a little resentment towards the Knicks because they knocked you out of the playoffs. I'd love to hear your opinion if you think it's being called one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's been like down the stretch, at least for the Knicks. You've seen them have the benefit of the doubt and a lot of favorable calls. I think the kickball missed call is inexcusable. And I think I have a bigger issue with the NBA in general, because why do we waste so much time reviewing every call, and we review out of bounds and things like that? But a call like this ultimately didn't change the course of the game because there was a turnover afterwards. But you can review pretty much every other thing, but you have calls like this that can go one way and just are absolutely not able to get reviewed. So I have an issue with that in itself, but that was a horrible missed opportunity there. And then the moving screen, I think the moving screen was bad, especially on replay. I really think, though, that DiVincenzo did a great job selling it and making it worse than what it actually was. So did the official get fooled there? Yes. But I also think, again, with as much as they review, they should easily be able to review that call and make sure that they got it right. And that wasn't the case there. So I think the Knicks have, at some point, it has to not just be, oh, hey, this is a coincidence. At some point, we have to look at it like, hey, this has happened 3, 4, 5 times now down the stretch. And what's this funny business that's actually going on? So I'm with you. I think the officials, they have to do a better job. But at the same time, that specific screen, I think DiVincenzo did a great job of selling it. And I think that's ultimately why they got that call.
All right, hold on. Before you go, Shout, I want to address the one thing that you said that I disagree with. You said that the next play was a turnover, so it didn't affect the game. I completely disagree with you. That turnover with the kick ball that was called would have been a 3-on-1 break for Indiana. They 100% are taking the lead, whereas you're getting a side inbounds. So it's totally different. And
I get it, but I also think that the Pacers, on the flip side of it, them having the foul on the inbound, Jalen Brunson getting the free throw and then shooting 2 to go up 4, as opposed to just them going up 3. I think that plays a part in it too. So I don't want to just completely let the Pacers off the hook for their lack of play.
They weren't perfect. And then Nick Reyes says, he's a Knicks fan, obviously. So he said the Knicks are the first team in history to get calls for them in all sports. Stop the crying. You lost. Deal with it. There's a bad call in every sports team. I was rooting for the Knicks. I like the Knicks. Talk to your brother, Nick. When the Sixers aren't playing the Knicks, that's who I'm rooting for. I love Brunson. I love Hart. I love DiVincenzo. I love their post-game press conferences, how they do them together, and like the comments that they make to each other, the Mike and Ike's and the Jordan comments. Bro, I can give you it all. I follow them. I like the basketball team. But as a commentator in sports, and by the way, I called on LeBron too. I called on LeBron also. You got to listen to the show more if you don't think I called on people when it happens. Shall you'll be my witness. Do I not call it when the Lakers get those 38-19 free throw discrepancies like they were getting last year?
I mean, I think we give it to LeBron more than we give it to anybody else in the show, to be completely honest. And Nick, nobody's saying that's the reason the Sixers lost. I mean, the Knicks outplayed them and were tougher and more clutch in the crucial spots. That's why they won. I'm not saying that's why the Sixers lost. But you can't sit there with unbiased eyes and not saying they're getting the benefit of almost every call at every big time. I look at it this way. Moving screens are like holding in the NFL. You call them every single damn trip down the floor if you wanted to. It's very rare that you see somebody right before contact not move. They're practically never set. They never are. And to call that there is it's atrocious. It's atrocious. I get it. The NBA wants New York and Boston. The 3 biggest media markets on the East Coast are Boston, New York, and Philly. Philly's out. New York, Boston, the old rivalry, the ratings and the money it will make out. It'll be out the wazoo. That's what the NBA wants. I get it. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. I think they're distinguishing themselves as the 2 best teams in the East. So to Gene's point, that's what I want to see. I want to see the best basketball I can see. But don't watch that game with biased eyes and tell me, in the Sixers series, they didn't get a couple, very questionable calls. There's a bunch of questionable no calls, like the Maxey one, the Gene reference. The NBA actually came out and said that they should have called fouls on 2 separate occasions. They're missing stuff. They're missing stuff, and it's either they're missing it because they're bad, or they're missing it because it's selectively. And I tend to lean on the side that's the latter. But
to kind of add to your point, though, Shal, to kind of add to your point, I correct me if I'm wrong, and Cottrell, I might be wrong. I don't think I am. I'm very smart when I say this, but wasn't there a rule implemented called the Trae Young rule? It wasn't called the Trae Young rule, but it's a rule in which offensive player can run full speed, stop, and then jump up into a jump shot and have his head hit the defender. It's trailing, and it's not a fail. It's called the Trae Young rule. That's what they called. They said you can't do that. You can't drive and then stop and then jump back and get a foul call. Jalen Brunson did that 4 times down the stretch, twice to Kelly Oubre, where I thought he was going to knock his teeth out.
The last one was really bad. The last one, he literally hit Oubre right on the chin.
Maybe I'm just, and that was the Sixers series, right? I didn't see that much versus the Indiana Pacers. And to be clear, I had the Knicks winning this series in 7. I think it's going to be a competitive series. I think Indiana's got the dogs. I really do. But with that being said, I think the Knicks prevail, and I don't think it should have to do with the officials. Josh Hart cannot score 24 points if the Pacers want to win this series. Dante DiVincenzo can't score 23 points in a game if the Pacers want to win this series. That has nothing to do with officiating.
Tyrese Halliburton can't score 6 points if the Pacers want to win this series.
That's fair, right? That's fair.
Like Tyrese Halliburton is in a position right now, and I've said this for the past 2 months. I really think Hallie is hurt. We haven't seen him be the same since the All-Star break, but he's playing, so you have to get on him for what it is. He hasn't looked like himself the entire playoffs, and the Pacers, granted, they played the Knicks well for the majority of that game. Yeah. And even the last series against Milwaukee, they played them great. Now, of course, Milwaukee had their injuries as well, but Indiana, don't let that take away from what Indiana did. They've been playing great basketball. They play good defense. Nick, I see you talking about Carlisle's rotations. I agree. Obi Toppin was a key factor in that game. So was TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell was surprisingly getting his spots wherever he wanted them. He got to the middle of the paint. He could either get you with the layup. His mid-range was falling too. And he even hit a surprise 3, that he's not, prone to hitting. But with all that said, though, I think it's still fair to say the Knicks got more favorable calls down the stretch than what the Pacers did. And Mo, I 110% agree with you. The 2-minute report is probably the biggest joke in all of the NBA, because at this point, it feels like every other playoff game, they come out and say, hey, this call with 40 seconds left, or this call with 10 seconds left. Hey, ultimately, we got it wrong. We're trying to be transparent with you guys. We're going to try and be better. I love the transparency aspect of it, but if you're just going to come out and say you were wrong and you can do nothing to fix these calls, then essentially,
I don't want to hear it.
What the hell do we have review for, and why do we have this 2-minute report? Fix the issue if you know it's a problem.
Can we be honest? That 2-minute report that came out and said that Tyrese Maxey's 4-point play was a travel, that was just basically to respond to the fact that all the Sixers fans were crying about the Tyrese Maxey getting fouled. No, that's never called a travel. If you want to call travels, if you want to add travels to the 2-minute report, do you know how many travels James Harden would be called for? That's not real, right? I can't believe they even mentioned that. It was a travel. We missed it. It's the Knicks fans are see, it was a travel. We shouldn't have lost that game. You shouldn't have lost that game because you shouldn't have lost a 7-point lead with 26 seconds left. That's why you shouldn't have lost the game. But just an opinion. I still have the Knicks winning the series. I might have them winning it earlier, depending on how tonight looks. I had them in 7 to begin with. I think that this will be a hard-fought series. I think Indiana's got a deeper rotation and more depth than the Knicks do. The Knicks basically got 3 total points from their bench. Deuce McBride has to be Deuce McBride that he was in the first round. It cannot be as bad as he was in game 1. And them losing their backup center for the year, which, by the way, it came out that it was a stress fracture. So all you morons saying that Embiid was the one that did it, that's not accurate. But Precious Achiuwa is terrible. He is awful. That guy needs to not be on the court. They need to figure out something else. But just my 2 cents. Let's move on. We'll talk about another series that now, guys. I want to be transparent, right? Here's the 2-minute report. You want the 2-minute report? I got the 2-minute report for you. Before the series started, I said the Nuggets would beat the Timberwolves in 6 games last Wednesday on the show. First half, and I'm going to need Shally and Cottrell to back me up. The Timberwolves were down 55-51 in game 1. They were losing by 4. And I said the Timberwolves are going to win this series. I'm watching the game. The Timberwolves are going to win this series. They come back and win the game. Then they blow out the Nuggets in game 2. And now it looks like I have revisionist history. So I'm going to need you guys to back me up here. 55-51, the exact time I sent the text message. The Timberwolves are going to win that series. Anthony Edwards is a star in the making. No, he's not a star. That's underselling it. A superstar in the making. Let me just be clear there.
For sure. And I mean, I think the biggest thing is that I also said last week I thought the Nuggets would win this series. And I think part of it is because of their ability to turn the switch off and on against the Lakers. I mean, you saw it in that entire series. The Nuggets had spurts where they really looked like just an average basketball team. And this series against Minnesota is not letting them off the hook. They look like that, and they say, hey, we're going to run it up on you guys. You're not coming back from being down 20 against us. Like, that's just not happening. You could tell that the different players that they're throwing at Jamal Murray is really affecting him. And you could see that it's affecting his psyche and his mental as well. Talk about that a little bit later on with Jamal. But I think this Minnesota Timberwolves team is built to beat the Nuggets. I'll say that. They have all the pieces that you need. And even last game, you would imagine with Rudy Gobert not being there, Joker would have a much better game and just be more productive in the field. And that wasn't the case. So everything that I see now, like, of course, they're up 2-0. It's easy to say you think the Timberwolves are going to win the series. But, I mean, just looking at it, I truly don't. I don't see a path to victory for the Nuggets. Like, I'll go out on a limb and say that. Like, I don't see how the Nuggets can win 4 or 5 against this Timberwolves team that's playing defense like that.
Shally.
Yes, I mean, I think the biggest thing that is giving Denver, the biggest issue is, I think Minnesota's the one team that is kind of balanced like Denver is. They can, like you guys both already said, they can run different people at Jamal Murray. You know, they can spread you out. They can drive. They have different ways that they can play, and there's not too many teams in the NBA that can match kind of what Denver does. And Minnesota's just kind of, just playing Denver's game and just doing it better. The second game for me is what was surprising. Not that Minnesota going into Denver winning game 1 wasn't. I think game 2 not coming out, with a better game plan and then not coming out and playing better after getting that smack in the face wake up call in game 1 and then getting blown out in game 2, that was shocking to me. We're really curious to see what happens. They play tonight or tomorrow night?
They play Friday.
So they have the extra day.
They have 2 They're off for a while.
I'll be very curious to see how the beginning of that game goes on Friday. But Minnesota's definitely under their skin, man. I mean, Mike Malone is on the court screaming at people every 5 minutes. He's usually pretty reserved. Cottrell already mentioned the Jamal Murray thing, throwing stuff on the court. Joker is clearly agitated when you look at him, and he's usually a pretty really even keel guy across the board. He is not happy. They're in for the fight of their lives right now. Minnesota is just playing free basketball. They're playing team basketball, which is what we talked about last round. And they're just continuing. And then obviously the emergence of Anthony Edwards has, amongst other things, just been really fun to watch.
I think the other thing besides that is that you have like Naz Reid, obviously 6th man of the year. Naz Reid's looking like, well, that last game at least, he looked like he could be, a starting center and across the league. Like, he looked that good. And I think the other thing about this Timberwolves team is that the refs let them play in game 2. And you could see that physicality was really getting after Denver. I will be curious to see, once they get a different crew in there, how much they actually let them play and let them be as physical as they were. But man, and I'm not even saying that Minnesota got away with like a lot of fouls in that game or anything like that either. But that physicality, it reminded me a lot of like how we talked about during the college basketball season with Houston. You got those big guards that are just super aggressive and they're going to get under your skin and, terrorize you for 48 minutes. So very curious to see how Denver responds to this one.
I'm curious also. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I knew literally halftime, not even halftime of game 1. I'm like, Minnesota's playing this perfectly. And in game 2, they didn't have Rudy Gobert. Like, what I thought was really interesting is, you think that they would have Rudy Gobert sticking Joker, but that's not what they did. What they did was they had Rudy Gobert sticking Aaron Gordon and being like, "Gad, shoot. I'm not worried about you shooting. I'm going to stand in the lane and protect the lane and have Karl Anthony Towns, who, by the way, needs to stay out of foul trouble. That's what he has to do. But having him on Joker, having that more fluid center that's used to being around the perimeter, I thought that was really smart. And I love the guard play right now you're getting from Minnesota, offensively and defensively. Guys, the series that we all need to see and want to see in round 2 and round 3 is Luka versus Ant. And I'm sorry, we're going to talk about Dallas versus Oklahoma City. And I want to be clear when I say this. Oklahoma City won game 1. They did well. They did what they were supposed to do. They defended home court. Dallas looked tired. They were just through an exhausting series versus the Clippers. Oklahoma City was sitting at home, dominated their series. I think Dallas comes back and wins this series because I feel like Luka and Kyrie are on another level offensively, and that Dallas team is playing great team defense. You've seen that score, and you're thinking Oklahoma City blew out Denver. And yes, by the end of the game, the score did look like a blowout, but there was like a minute and a half left in the second quarter or 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and it was a 2-point game. So I have the Mavs. I have the Mavs win the series, and I really, really, genuinely want to see Luka versus Ant because I feel like that's the future of the NBA. It's worth the price of admission. I'd watch all 7 games to see what those two animals do. Your thoughts?
I think Oklahoma City is going to win the series. I think Luka is pretty banged up. I think he's tired on top of everything, and I think he's banged up. I mean, his whole left leg it's under different sleeves. It's taped. It's this. It's that. He didn't look like himself last night. I understand what you're saying about it being a close game in the third quarter, but I mean, you played 4 quarters, so what happens in the fourth quarter matters.
You're right.
And I don't think OKC played particularly well last night. They threw the ball all over the gym in the first half. I don't think I think it's, after the layoff, I think they cut down on that. I don't know. I think they're just, as much as I love like Dallas buying into, the defensive side of the game and Jason Kidd finally, getting it through their heads. I think Oklahoma City just has too many ways to come at them. I think it's still too much of a Luka Kyrie show. And OKC's got 5 or 6 guys that can score. And then on top of that, I mean, don't sell SGA short, who was, an MVP candidate all year. So
yeah,
I think
short, but if we're not, I'm not comparing Luka to SGA. I don't think that they're in the same ballpark. I think SGA had a great season with a good team. I think Luka Doncic is top 3 best player in the world.
I just think, and both can be true. I mean, I'm not saying SGA is a better player than Luka, but Luka is the number 1 option on that team and can pretty much shoot whenever, wherever he wants, and he's going to have the gaudy numbers. OKC, kind of like Minnesota, plays more team basketball, and I think that's ultimately going to be Dallas's downfall. I think they just have 4, 5, 6 guys that can score 15, 20 points any given night, and Dallas doesn't have that right now. I do agree they look tired. But I mean, I don't know when they're not going to be tired. I mean, the playoffs are a grind, man. They're a gruel. They're grueling. So they're not going to get any long stretch of rest anywhere here anytime soon.
No, but that could be the exhale game for them. And what I mean by that is when you win a tough series and you're like, whew, that series is done. Game one, you tend to come out flat because you just played in a grueling series. And now most times it doesn't show up because the other team you're playing has just played in a grueling series. Like for instance, Indiana versus New York. Whereas with the Thunder, their whole situation is they didn't play a grueling series. They actually sat at home for a week and a half. They were resting, relaxing. They were watching TV, eating pizza. They were chilling, shooting commercials, chatting SGA. I'm kidding, but I think Kyrie and Luka get it done, and that's fair. I'm in the minority here. Do you think Dallas wins the series, Control?
I do. I actually have Dallas winning this series as well. I mean, I think game one, to me, you could talk about Oklahoma City turning the ball over. To me, what it came down to was in that fourth quarter, normally that's Luka and Kyrie's time to shine, and you see them score a lot of baskets and ultimately, put their team in a position to be successful. Neither one of them had great games, and, I know the fourth quarter was a runaway, but up until that point, they were in the game with two subpar games from their two best players. So I think Dallas is still in a good position now. I feel like typically, the home team is going to go out there and they win game one, and it's no need to hit the panic button at all. We saw it in the last series when the Clippers won a game after Kawhi sat out, and you're thinking that, hey, it's going to Dallas 1-1. All you got to do is win game two, and you're in a great spot still. You're going back home, and a series isn't a series until the away team wins on the court. So I think Dallas is still in a great spot. Talk about how deep that Thunder team is. I think Dallas is in a spot where they play good team basketball as well. Derrick Jones plays very well, complimentary. Gaffer had a great game, and Derek Lively has looked pretty good his rookie year as well. So, I mean, I think Dallas is the team that can put it together. To me, I think it's just going to come down to who are they going to stick on Shea when things get tough, because you got to put Luka or Kyrie on somebody, and you got to figure that portion of it out.
Cottrell, I'm going to be nice and gentle, but because I got to give credit where credit's due. You've not, at one point, Homer Simpsoned the Cleveland Cavaliers. You haven't done that, right? You've been pretty fair in your critique. A couple times I felt you get in. I felt you get in and, a little bit behind them, but not once have you really been absurd with it, right? Better chances that they win one basketball game, or do you think this is a sweep? I don't give them a shot at 6. So, I think that if they get to 6 games, that would be like them winning the series. I could see it being a gentleman's sweep and Cleveland taking game 3 at home. Boston has been known to throw games so they can get that extra home game at the Garden to get some extra revenue coming in. But I don't think that Cleveland team is even in the same stratosphere as what the Celtics are playing.
I tend to agree with you. I said it last night. I believe Kyle was live streaming, and I said if the Cavs were able to find a way to win game 1, I thought they would have a chance to take that series to 7. I said if they lost game 1, I think the Celtics win in 5. Ultimately, though, what Nick Reyes says, I think if Jared Allen comes back, that gives them a great chance to win a couple games. I'll say that. But from everything I'm seeing, I don't think Jared Allen is going to be back anytime soon. And with that being the case, I mean, they're getting out rebounded. Boston, they shot the leather off the ball yesterday. And Cleveland's a team that, like I've said before the playoffs started, they do not have a consistent offense at all whatsoever. Donovan Mitchell's been playing great. Jared Allen had actually been that second, piece of the offense and the second fiddle to Donovan during the playoffs. I really think what this series is going to come down to is, can they figure out how to defend this Boston team? I think obviously scoring is going to be a big part of it. Jason Tatum has struggled. If you can continue to have Jason Tatum struggle, if you can find a way to slow down Jaylen Brown and not just let him go off for 20 points or whatever it was in the first quarter and things like that, and just make these other role players beat you, I think that's going to give you a shot to win a game, maybe two. But as it stands right now, I think this is going to be Celtics in 5. If Allen comes back, I say Celtics in 6.
Okay. I mean, there's the homer in them. There it is. I don't think they have a shot at hitting the 6. You can throw Jared Allen on the team. You can add prime LeBron. They're not winning the series. They're not that good. I'm kidding with the prime LeBron thing.
I mean, I told you. I told you I thought the Magic series was going to go 7 before we first started. Just because, I mean, the writing had been up on the wall with this Cavs team. But if Jared Allen comes back, though, I think that it just adds, one, a toughness to the team, and two, it just adds more rebounding. And the Celtics don't typically play big, especially now that Kristaps won't be there the entire series.
Okay. That's fair. Brandon Fister's in the chat. No, you didn't miss the F1 segment. We have that coming. It's coming at 9:05 p.m. Be ready for it.
I mean, you can come back for the question and answer segment if you want, Brandon. You could ask something about that.
Q&A section. Or 9:05 p.m. One or the other. But we got a lot to get into. Shally, what's your thoughts on the Boston-Cleveland series? Do you think that Cleveland's got a chance to win 2 games?
No, I mean, I originally had it in 5. I think they win game 3. Kind of, the max effort, lay your, everything on the line type thing. I think they steal one. Game 4, I think Boston probably sneaks a close one, and they go back game 5 and probably take care of business. I think it's just a bit.
The funny thing about what Cottrell said, real quick, and I want you to touch on this, he talked about Jason Tatum's struggles. Jason Tatum struggled, and they won the game by 25.
Yeah. And I also think it's just one of those things you just look at it, and it's just not a great matchup. And then not having Jared Allen obviously is that's a big blow for that team. They're a different team with him on the floor. I think they play a little tougher. They definitely play bigger. And their defense is vastly, improved on the interior when he's on the court. But to your point, Tatum didn't play well. I mean, Cottrell mentioned it. If they're going to shoot the leather off the basketball like that, I don't care what Cleveland does. I don't. If they come out and shoot and play that efficient, it's going to be what it's going to be. They've been the best team in basketball all year, and they're continuing to play that way. It's just what they are. They can come at you from a gazillion directions. They pass well, play great defense. They really don't have a weakness on the team. It is they're just a really, really good basketball team, and it's nothing against Cleveland. I think you got to give Cleveland credit for getting here, but it's a horrible matchup for Cleveland.
I mean, to kind of touch on this comment, the only reason Kornet's playing is because Kristaps Porzingis is hurt. So, you can say the whole thing, if Jared Allen comes back, what if Kristaps Porzingis comes back? My point being is, they're both missing big men. It's not like they're
no. It's not that though. It's that that Kristaps won't be there this entire series. For a fact he's not coming back. Jared Allen could. I mean, he's basically been a game time decision every game for the last 4 games. So there's a possibility for him to be back.
Breaking news: Nikola Jokic has just won his 3rd MVP. It's been announced. So breaking news to anyone out there who didn't already see the writing on the wall. I knew this 2 weeks ago when they leaked the ballots in which people already released their ballots. It was a foregone conclusion. Just look at the odds 2 weeks ago and you can know exactly who's going to win. Before we leave the NBA topic, do you think he should have won it this year? If you had a vote, who would you have casted it for?
If I had a vote this year, I would have given it to Shea. I feel like SGA was the best player and really just had the most impact to his team, especially, knowing that the Thunder got the 1 seed and Shea averaged 30 plus a game this year and just what he meant to that team as a whole. This is a team that I understand they got Chet back this year, but they were a 9 seed last year. Shea took another step, and I feel like he's been consistent pretty much throughout the entire year. And while Joker has been great, don't want to take anything away from him. I would have gave it to Shea this year.
Okay. I wouldn't have. I would have gave it to Luka Doncic. He averaged 34 points a game. I think he had better overall stats if you did a blind resume comparison between Luka and Jokic's stats. I think that Luka was the better statistician. So my vote would have went to Luka.
I would have Shai as well. I think you have to acknowledge and give credit where it's due. He leads that team to the number 1 seed, higher seed than both Denver and Dallas. And on top of that, averages 30 points a game for a really young team that, we kind of knew this was coming eventually. I think they're still a little ahead of schedule, but I would went with SGA as well. I think it's the good story. I think he deserves it. But I mean, I don't think you go wrong with any of the 3 picks, but I mean, Joker does Joker stuff. And it's just so consistent and in your face constantly. It's just hard to ignore.
I mean, it'll be fun. I don't know, man. When I look at Luka play basketball and what he means to that Mavericks team versus what SGA means to that Thunder team, I think if Luka's not on the Mavericks, I think they're a fringe play-in team. I think if SGA is not on the Thunder, they're still the 4th or 5th seed.
That is insane to say.
The Thunder are incredibly deep. I disagree with you completely. The Thunder
Shay's
have 9 guys.
That team, they're in the lottery. They have good players, yes, but I mean,
you take Shai off of Oklahoma City and you take Luka off of Dallas, and you're telling me you're taking Dallas over Oklahoma City?
All right, let's talk about the next. Let's talk about the next best players then.
Okay, so you're going to do that when next best player is Kyrie Irving, which is fair. The next 5 best players are on the Thunder. The next 5 best players are on the Thunder.
See, I disagree with that. I think you get the next one. How? You get Jay Will, but then after Jay Will,
what?
I don't. Who are you taking? Chet? You taking? Chet. It would be matched up with Kyrie. So why?
No, I'm not. I said actually, I said Jalen Williams was matched up with Kyrie, but you're going.
Oh, because you're trying to steal. You're trying to steal.
Okay. No, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to steal. I'm saying if you rank the players, right? Let's say Luka's 1, SGA's 2, or SGA's 1, Luka's 2. It doesn't matter. We're deleting them, right? Number 1 is Kyrie. Number 2 is Jalen Williams. Number 3 is Chet Holmgren. Number 4 is Josh Giddey. Number 5 is Dort. Number 6, you can't. There's no way. Who are you taking on that? PJ Washington, Gafford? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, the PJ Washington disrespect is insane.
It's not disrespect. Are you taking Josh Giddey or PJ Washington?
I'm taking PJ Washington.
You're out of your mind.
Before I take Lou Dort, I'll tell you that.
Oh, maybe over Dort.
I'll give you Giddey. I'll give you Giddey, but I'm taking him before I take Dort.
That's fair, and that's an argument. We can have that debate.
I mean, I just think regardless, we're basically nitpicking certain players here and there. I think they're really in the same boat. I think both teams would suck. I think both teams are in the lottery, and neither team's sniffing the playoff spot. 4 or 5 is nuts. You're saying they would be better than the Mavs as is without Shai, or they'd be better than who is the Suns as is without Shai?
Luka off the Mavs. So the Mavs are a bad team now.
Yeah, you said if
that's what I'm saying.
You're saying if you take Shai off OKC,
if you take both off. If you take both off, I think you're still better than the Suns.
That's good.
Still better than the Suns with the 6.
Yes, you're saying that you're saying Dallas with both.
No. I'm saying if you guys, this isn't that complicated. If you remove SGA and Luka from their teams, I think Dallas is the 10 seed, and I think Oklahoma City's the 5. That's not complicated. If Luka is on Dallas, they're better than Oklahoma City without Shai. That's not a complicated thing to understand.
There's no way they're the 5 seed.
Okay, so where would you put them without Shai? Dude, that team is good, even with or without Shai. They're filled with young talent. Jalen Williams is a star.
See,
they don't have the go-to guy that's going to put up 30 every game like you need to. Like a Luka, like all that. And Kyrie's capable of doing that. There's nobody with any confidence on the Thunder roster. You're going to say is going to go out and give you 25 to 30 every single night in the playoffs.
Just looking at the teams in the West that I think would be better than them, and this is going from the bottom up. The Kings, I think, would still be better. I think the Pelicans, as is, would be better. The Lakers would be better, and the Suns would be better. So they'd probably be like 10, right there with the Mavs. I think they'd be 10, 11.
They embarrassed the Pelicans, bro.
With Shea.
Embarrassed them.
Without Shea.
All right, well, that's fine. I think that if you take Luka off the Mavs and you take SGA off the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder are clearly the better basketball team. I don't know. I really don't know how we're arguing that.
I mean,
they're deeper.
You saying they're better? That's okay. How about this? If you want to say that they're better, they finish as the 9 seed and Dallas finish as a 10 seed. I'm all right with that. But acting like this Oklahoma City team is just this great team, even without Shea, is insane to me.
They're 57-25. What do you think their record was without Shea?
They had Shea last year and they were the 9 seed. What the hell do you think they would look like without him?
Jalen Williams emerged as a star. Chet Holmgren was back for the whole year. Josh Giddey is a good player.
I get it.
Is a good player.
I get it. They had all these guys last year outside of Chet. Jalen did emerge, and he's better this year. But let's not act like Jalen Williams is going to be an all-star ever in his entire NBA career, because that's just not going to be the case.
And I disagree with you completely. I think Jalen Williams can be an all-star as early as next year.
In the West,
I think he could be an all-star
in the East.
Year. Maybe I think way more than Jalen Williams than everybody else does.
I look at it like
I think he's a really good player. I just don't think he's a definitive all-star next year with the people.
Jalen Williams or Tobias Harris.
What is that?
Is that the category?
Well, no, Tobias Harris never made. Tobias Harris was looked at as, should have been an all-star. I'm asking the question. That's why I used it.
I think that's where he's at. Prime Toby. That's where he's at.
That's where he's at.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so disrespectful.
It's not. That's where he's at.
I think he's got a higher ceiling than Toby.
Ceiling. Where that ceiling? I'm talking about what I've seen
from
him so far.
Ceiling. I think it's ground levels better. Everything.
I get it. You hate him now, but when he was with the Clippers, when he first got to Philadelphia and he was the number 4 option on the team, he was not looked at this way.
Just to be clear, I hated Tobias Harris the entire time he was in Philadelphia.
But the contract is really what makes you overhate him now.
No, I hated him, and I didn't want them to resign him. And then when they resigned him, I hated him more. But you also have to understand that these are the same 2 people that argued with me that trading Ben Simmons for Ja Morant would have been a bad idea. So
I don't know if we necessarily.
I have screenshots. It happened today, 3 years ago.
Okay, post them.
I will. I have them. They're literally on my memory. I'll post. Yeah, I'm going to post them right now. I'm going to literally go on there at my memories right now and post them.
Wonderful. Because I don't remember.
You guys can conversate.
I don't remember arguing with you. I remember us having the.
You said that you would keep Ben Simmons instead of trading him for the second pick, which was Ja Morant. Please, this is what we're talking about. I have it.
Okay, how is that arguing with you? Saying that at the time that I would keep an all-star Ben over the number 2 overall pick. That doesn't sound like an argument.
It just lacks your credibility.
That doesn't sound like an argument to me.
It lacks your credibility. Your credibility is lacking.
Well, I mean, this is the same guy that called Chris Paul the winner. So, I mean,
oh, Jesus.
Don't go all at the time. Don't go at the time. I have it. Hold on, guys. I'm not kidding. This will be on the Wire2Wire page in 40 seconds. Here it is. I got it right here.
And what does it say?
It says my post says, I'm just sharing it right now to the Wire2Wire page. You guys can all check it out, and I'll read you what my post says, and then you guys can see it on air. My post says, I trade Ben Simmons for the second pick and a shooter and select Ja Morant 100%. Then I got a bunch of people that argued with me in the comments. So 2 years later, I bumped it, and I said bump, and I tagged both of you two. Bill Shalcross said, I was kind of coming around to this before this year. Now I keep Ben. Catrell Simpson, love the message.
So okay, so
I
what
have
did I say?
it
What
right
did I say?
there.
Well, Gene, what did I say? What
You
did I say?
love the message to keep Ben.
So that means that I argue.
Come
with you.
on.
I love the message. That means I argue with you. Is that what we're saying here?
No. Guys, come on. Be the judge in the chat. Shai's not going to be on his own island here.
I'm not.
You loving the message means you agree with it.
Correct. I'm saying I didn't say I disagreed with it. I didn't
And
say
that was
that.
2 years in Josh's career.
You said I
You
argued.
had 2 more years of argument.
Gene, you said I argued with you about this, and I quite literally didn't say one word. That's
fair.
not how arguments work.
That's fair. Are we doing it? Can we do a Jalen Williams or before we get done NBA?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I just want people to know you can't argue with someone without saying a word. I just want that to be clear.
I mean, you're lawyering me right now. You're lawyering me.
No, I'm not saying I didn't disagree. I did not say I didn't agree with what Bill said because I did, but I didn't argue with you. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you didn't argue with me. Let me rephrase the comment. Cottrell agreed that we should keep Ben Simmons over Ja Morant in 2021. All right.
That's 3 years ago.
What?
That's 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. Could have been 2022. I'll check. I shared it.
2 years ago, that's probably around the time he got in trouble. That's probably why I said what I said.
No, he didn't get in trouble yet. Did not get in trouble yet. All right, so
he got in trouble in 2020.
By the way, shout out to the 35 people watching right now on X. Elon, look, you guys talk all your shit you want. Elon's done a great job allowing me to put podcasts on X. I'm fired up about it. Thank you, Elon. All right, we're doing a Jalen Williams or next 5 years. Next 5 years, who would you rather have? Jalen Williams or?
These names will be very interesting.
Okay. So I'm going to start with an easy one. Andrew Wiggins.
Jalen Williams.
It's an easy one, right? Easy.
Jalen Williams.
Dante DiVincenzo.
Jalen Williams.
Okay. Now I'm going to start going up the ladder. OG Anunoby. I'm going up the ladder. Jalen Williams. I agree. Jalen Williams. Shall we agree?
Yep.
Pascal Siakam. We're getting fun in here. We're getting fired up.
I'll go Pascal.
I'm going Jalen Williams.
How old is Pascal?
27, 28.
He's in his 20s still.
Yeah.
Let me check. Pascal, I got you right now. That was off the dome, by the way. 30. He's 30.
Yeah, I'm going Jalen Williams then.
Look at them all. J-Dub in the chat. Okay. Jalen Williams or Scotty Barnes?
See, I'm not a big Scotty fan. I'll go Williams.
Okay.
Mo, I agree.
We have 52 people currently watching on X right now. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you retweet. Make sure you do something. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I might have to get Scotty on that one.
I'm going to give you 2 more and then I'm going to be done. Okay? 2 more.
Okay.
All right. Jalen Williams or Tyler Hero?
I'll go Jalen Williams. I've never been a hero guy ever. So
I guess I'll go Jalen Williams.
And then Jalen Williams or Zion Williamson?
Zion. Don't have to think twice about
I'm
that.
taking Jalen Williams. Zion hasn't played in a playoff game in 6 years. The guy's literally just allergic to playoff basketball.
Didn't he play one this year?
I think he played in one. He played in one, and
he got hurt in the play-in, so.
That's what I thought.
So technically, no. But
I mean,
regardless,
I get the sentiment and the argument with him never being available. So I mean, I get it. But
Nick Reyes, let's highlight this comment here. None of the guys we're talking about are all-stars.
Zion started an all-star game.
No, Zion
made an all-star game. What do we don't do that?
No. Zion
won the fan vote. He played 12 games.
He didn't even play when he won that. He was already hurt. So regardless of that, Pascal's literally the only guy who's made it to an all-star game of those guys. Scotty Barnes made it this year. You're right, but he was in.
Okay, no. If you want to get deeper, I'll give you 5 more guys that could be These are young guys. We're trying to project. All right, Sengun or Jalen Williams.
Again, not at all. Like, so let's
No,
talk
but
about
these are
like
young, up and coming guys.
Okay,
I'm not
okay,
giving
Gene,
you.
let me
don't
help you out here.
All right,
Let me
LeBron.
help you out here.
Next 5 years, LeBron.
Gene, let me help you out here.
Okay.
Jalen Williams or Paolo Banchero?
Paolo Banchero.
Okay.
Not close.
Jalen Williams
Okay.
or Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown. You guys are Jaylen Brown's 4 years older than Jalen Williams.
Okay. But you're talking about the next 5 years.
Apples.
But you're talking about for the next 4 years. So you compare him to a guy that's 30, but you won't compare him to a guy that's 25.
I'm checking the age because I don't know if he's 25. He's 27, bro.
Oh, gee, my bad. 27. That's closer to Jalen Williams' age than Pascal Siakam being 30.
It's fair. All right, Maxey, stop it. Jalen Williams or Maxey? I'm going Maxey.
I got another one for you.
Okay.
Jalen Williams or Evan Mobley?
Jalen Williams. Evan Mobley is a niche player. He fits versus certain. No, I'm not kidding with you. He fits versus certain teams, and he's tragic versus other teams. That's the truth. He was tragic game 1 versus Boston. Might have been the worst player on the court. I'm telling you the truth. But versus Orlando, he was incredible. So I think he's a niche player. I'll take J. Will.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, these are the players, and Evan Mobley, don't know what he'll be. Jury's still out on him. I don't even know if I'm sold on him. But like, I just think
third in defensive player of the year.
I know, but offensively, he hasn't developed into what I thought he would. I know he's still young, but like, damn, like at some point, can we get it there?
I mean, there's a strong possibility he never makes an All-Star game. I think it's kind of
that's my sentiment though. Like that's the company that we need to be thinking of him in. I'm not saying that J-Dub's a bad player or anything like that, but like the NBA is really good right now. Like it's not crazy to say he's never going to be an all-star, or if he is an all-star, like maybe he like sneaks in one year. Like Andrew Wiggins made an all-star game. Like I don't want to just say that J-Dub will just be this average mid player, but at the same time, like putting him in the same light as some of these other guys is crazy.
Pull up the West Coast All-Stars from this year.
Okay.
And just tell me in the next 3 years who you think he possibly beats out for an All-Star game.
Well, LeBron won't be there. Kevin Durant probably won't be there.
We'll be realistic. Here's the Western Conference All-Stars. LeBron, Luka, Durant, SGA, Booker, Curry won't be there. Anthony Davis, Ant Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, he's not better than any of those guys. I'm just being very real. I don't think he'll ever be where any of those guys are at their peak. That's different.
And then there's guys that are
to be fair, Kawhi Leonard won't be in the league within the next 5 years. Anthony Davis will probably be out of the league within 5 years. Steph Curry will definitely be out of the league within 5 years. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, they're all out of the league. So you have to replace them.
AD, I think could potentially still be there. But then at the same time, though, you got guys like you got Wemby still. That's going to be incredible for
You're absolutely correct.
However long he wants to be. Demontis Sabonis, the guy who I would say it's Chet personally.
I would say it's Jalen Williams, and that's the argument. That's why I think I value him a little bit more than you do, and that's fair.
And I think Chet's gonna be a guy too that is gonna be competing for all-star spots. You got Demontis Sabonis, Lauri Markkanen. Like I think the West is just really good. I think J-Dub's gonna be a fringe all-star. And that's not taking anything away from him, but if his career aligns with Tobias Harris's, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised.
I don't mean to do this to you, Bill, but I'm gonna try to embarrass you just for fun. It's not really an embarrassing thing. How old do you think Donovan Mitchell is? Because I'd be embarrassed, but I guess I would have gave.
30.
I was at 30, 31. He's 27 years old.
Yeah.
And you know the one thing I have to remember and remind myself, he came in the same year as Ben Simmons.
That's right. Came with Ben and then went rookie of the year and freaked out.
Definition of rookie. He wore the rookie hoodies and stuff like that to games.
Yep.
All right. No, I don't like Tobias Harris. I hate Tobias Harris. But just to be he's talking to somebody else. All right.
He's talking about me.
Yeah, well, he should talk about you. That was an laughable comment. You should be
I mean,
thrown off the show.
where was
We need you. We love you.
For shits and giggles here, when Toby was at his prime, when
did Toby ever average 19.1 points per game?
He averaged 19.3 in 2017, then came back and averaged 20.9. Went to Philadelphia, second year averaged 19.6, then 19.5. Like,
so he averaged 19 his peak was 19 points a game. 21 year, but 19. Jalen Williams had his second year. 19.1 per game this year, with 4.5 assists, 4 rebounds, and a steal a game, with less than 2 turnovers a game.
Right now, Tobias Harris is a career 16-6-2 guy.
And right now, Jalen Williams in his second year is a career 16-4-4 guy.
And that was quite literally Tobias Harris in his third year. He was 17-8-2 in his third year in the league. So, I mean,
his third year, what was he in the second year in the league? Just wondering.
Second year, he was 4.92 and half an assist.
He's in a higher trajectory. Is that fair?
I mean, he didn't really get playing time his second year. Okay, he got 11 minutes a game.
So next year, Jalen Williams' third year, and he already cleared Tobias Harris's third year.
I mean, it took Tobias Harris 10 years to hit 20 points a game.
Okay, well, I don't see the argument. We gotta get off of it. We gotta go MLB. We gotta move on. We have an hour to NBA. By the way, if you're enjoying us, we appreciate you. Give us a like. If you can do me a favor and just tag your followers, if you're listening on Facebook, just go @followers enter. That'd be really great. It would help us out. It would notify everybody that follows you that we're live, and it would really help us out. If you're on X, if you're listening to us on X, if you're one of the 47 people right now listening to us on X, if you give us a retweet, a like, a share, we'd really appreciate it. But let's move. Major League Baseball. I'm going to move this over to Shally. Shally, you got 6 questions for us, 6 comments. I got a few more when you're done, and I kind of want to vent a little bit. And if Phillies fans, I'm going to be Scrooge. I'm going to be Scrooge. I don't want to be Scrooge, but I'm going to be Scrooge tonight. It's not about the Phillies. Love the Phillies, right? Let me just wait. He's going to ask a Phillies question, and I can answer it then. Pause.
I mean, I'm going to start with the Phillies.
Good.
Reaction to Phillies having the best record in baseball right now.
I love it. I think that means they're going to have a great season. I think they have a great opportunity to win the division, especially with Strider out. I think the Philadelphia Phillies playing this well in April, May is huge because they're a huge team over the summer. Hitting weather. Trey Turner being out for 6 weeks is going to hurt. Let's not lie. Alec Boehm hitting at an historic rate for himself. This is the best start to a season he's ever had. It's going to slow down. I'm not saying that he's not going to be great all year. By the way, shout out to Shally, put him in his top 10 third basemen this year and moved him up the list because Alec Boehm is definitely a top 10 third baseman. I was wrong. I can admit that now in middle of May. But I'm listening to WIP earlier. And
there's a mistake.
That's fair. I like WIP. I really do because I want to eventually be on there and talking sports with the Philadelphia fans like everybody else, right? But I'm listening to WIP earlier, and they say a comment, and they're ranking the all-time greatest Phillies teams. And they're putting the 24 team over the 08 team. And then they said, this team will win. There's no reason why this team shouldn't set the franchise record in wins.
I mean, listen, I think when you look at it, kind of like you said, this team is a team that usually just kind of putters around and hangs like 5 games over 500 until they get to like end of June, early July. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the lineup starts hitting the ball in the second deck and they just go on these tears. So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at them coming out of the gate this year as being, a precursor to where they end up for the rest of the season, I think that's fair. I loved Kyle Schwarber's, post-game press conference today. They kind of kept trying to get him to say, like, how did you feel about the win streak and this and that? And he goes, I don't care about it. He goes, we lost today. He goes, I don't care if we win 9 and then lose 1. It's still a loss. Love that. And I think that is the hungry mentality. I think after the last 2 years coming up short that they have in that room right now. And Bryce is kind of starting to lock in. I mean, Schwarber's still doing whatever. Stott's starting to hit. Bohm's been incredible. I do agree Trey is going to be a little bit of a miss because he was playing great. But I mean, you're also moving Bryce and Stott over to short. It's not the end of the world. You just got to,
they got to do that though. They haven't been doing that. They've been playing Armando Sosa at short and Stott at second. And I don't like that. I want Whit Merrifield starting at second base. I want Stott at shortstop. They did it again.
It all depends who's pitching. I don't disagree. I think that's the better lineup, but he's also going to rotate those guys and keep those guys fresh too. So
sure.
But I mean, you take the first, week and a half, 2 weeks out of it. Their bullpen, has been really good again. They're the top 3 or 4 in every single category in Major League Baseball right now that matters. It's a very good, solid team, and that's with Cassie not doing anything right now. So, I think if you're a Phillies fan, there's always, cautious optimism, because you're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to fall. Like Trey Turner got hurt, and now somebody else big will go down. But they seem very locked in right now, and that is, like I said, it's different for them. And I think you have to give those guys credit. I mean, there's a lot of winners in that clubhouse, and I think they came to spring training this year with a different mindset and a different attitude, and you're seeing it.
I mean, I think this Phillies team has to think of where you guys are at right now, knowing that Ranger Suarez has been pitching his ass off, and Nola hasn't even really pitched so far this year, too much. I think that should really put you in a great spot. When I say pitched much, I mean more so caliber, as opposed to Wheeler and Suarez. Both of them are sub 2 ERA. Wheeler's pitching a lot. His outings he's averaging at least 7+ pretty much every trip. So I think knowing that, you have to feel very confident going into this season and just going into the playoffs moving forward, because like you already said, Gene, Atlanta doesn't have Strider, and the reality of it is, obviously the Dodgers are very good. Atlanta is really going to be the team that you're going to have to go through, because it's either you're going to win your division and you're going to see Atlanta in the wild card, or it's going to be vice versa, where they win the division and you see Atlanta as a wild card team. So I think the Phillies are in a very good spot right now. Obviously, Trey getting hurt, it matters. But the way they're pitching, I mean, if you got 2 guys, you got to get 2 runs to win ball games. You're in a good spot. So,
well, they're the 8th worst bullpen in baseball, so they're not really back to normal. Just to be clear, they have the 8th worst bullpen in all of baseball. They have a 4.
But the nice thing is, though, is that you don't have to have, at least with Ranger and Wheeler pitching, you don't have to have those guys pitch much. You don't need much setup.
Ranger's never had a whole season the way he had.
You're right.
I love Ranger.
But
I hope that's I love that. 1.72 ERA, he's 6-0. He should start for the NL. If it wasn't for Tyler Glass now, he should start the All-Star game for the NL right now.
It's his 3rd full year in the bigs, and he's taking that step. I don't think he's not going to pitch like this all year, but I mean, he's also a better pitcher now than he was his rookie year where he was pitching the World Series.
I love that they're getting him through the 3rd time in the order. That's big to me. That's finally, I've been begging for that. They're finally allowed him to pitch to the order the 3rd time.
And I'll tell you what, Chris Sanchez has been great. I think he's 6-2. He's under 3 too. And he's kind of a clone of the way Ranger pitches. Like I said, especially with Strider out, their top 4 is better than anybody in baseball right now.
I don't think I disagree with that.
I think the scary part is the way Atlanta is. Atlanta will make a move to probably go get somebody that you don't think is available, because they always do. But I would love to finish with the 1st overall seed. I don't know if they'll do that. The Dodgers are only 2 games behind. I'm sure they're going to go on a tear eventually at some point. But I would love to be the 1 seed and make the Dodgers and Atlanta play each other to get to you. I mean, that's the perfect world situation.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's a good. I just don't. I think that if you live in Philadelphia and you listen to Philadelphia sports radio, everything's an overreaction. 7 games into the season, Joe DeCamara declared the Philly season over. I'm not kidding. It's not a joke. Now, what is it? 38 games into the season? What are they, 26 and 12? They're the best Phillies team of all time. Like, dude, it's 38 games into a 162 game season. Chill. Like, just be happy where they're at right now. They're a half a game better than the Dodgers. Do you know, like, and listen, I'll be on this boat too. 1 game into Yamamoto's career, we pronounced him the worst baseball contract in history. Like, relax. RELAX.
It's been a lot of up and down since then too.
He's been very good recently. I think he's like 6-2.
I mean, also, there's not
a 2.79 ERA.
There's not a bunch of pitchers that just come into the MLB and just start lighting the world on fire either.
No,
if they do, they get.
I thought it was very interesting how his first start, he was the worst contract ever, and now he's got a 2.79 ERA that went up yesterday. Like, it went up. He threw 2 runs in 6 innings yesterday.
Probably would have only been 1 if what we're going to talk about later.
We do look. Listen, he wished he could be as attractive as me.
Oh my God. I'm not even dignifying that.
Look, I gotta give credit where credit's due. He wants to be me. It's fair. I'm kidding.
Anyway,
next question, baseball.
Kind of piggyback right back to Atlanta. Still hanging in the race, still there. Do you think they go out and make the move, or do you think they just kind of try to push through it with what they have?
No, they're gonna make a move. They're the best roster in baseball. Like, let's not kid ourselves. The reason the Phillies are 26-12, the Braves are 21-12, top to bottom. Listen, now Strider being hurt really changes a lot of that, but they're the best roster in baseball. They're going to go out and get a pitcher to pitch with Max Fried and Chris Sale. They're going to do that. One could argue that Minter should be their starter for them and moved up from the bullpen, but I think the Braves go out and get somebody.
That would be hard to stretch him out at this point.
I 100% agree. I think that the Braves will go out and get somebody because at this point they've had the best, if not the best, one of the best rosters in baseball for the past couple years. And to lose to the Phillies 2 years in a row, and for the Phillies to look how they look now, especially as the season progresses, like if Philly's still in number 1 spot in that division, or potentially number 1 in the NL, I feel like Atlanta, they know they have to make a move because we couldn't beat Philadelphia with Strider in our rotation. He couldn't win in Philadelphia. Now we don't even have, that skill set to throw out there. We're probably not going to beat them again this year, especially if they get the number 1 seed and they have home field advantage. Because the last 2 years we have, and they've come here, they've beat us, and sent us home with. So if you give Philly home field advantage, we're going to lose. So I think Atlanta knows that, hey, if there's ever a time to make a move, it's going to be now. I get it. They have young talent, and Acuna's on a good contract. So, money-wise, they're still good there. But I think they realize that they need to maximize their open window now. And just because Strider got hurt, they can't just stay put and not make a move.
So my question for anybody out there listening would be this. The Philadelphia Phillies have played really well, like as good as you can play for the first 38 games of the season. Is that fair? Can we agree there?
Yeah.
Anybody think the Atlanta Braves are playing anywhere near their potential? And what I mean by that, and I'll explain.
You're going to go through the lineup, aren't you?
No. Austin Riley's batting 244.
Yeah.
Matt Olson's batting 198. All right, look, you tell me. Ronald Acuna's batting 267 with 2 home runs. You tell me if the Braves' best players, which is Acuna, Riley, and Olson, are playing anywhere near to their potential. And if they are, I think you're catching the Braves on the worst stretch of 33 games that they're going to have this year, and the Phillies are on the best stretch of 38. Just an opinion. And I hate the Braves. I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, I think as a whole, well, as far as the Braves go, I think I agree with you. I think the Phillies have looked great. Like, I'm not taking anything away from them, but like, I don't think this is the best I've seen this Phillies team look. Like, if you ask me who looks better so far within this stretch, the Phillies now or like the Phillies when they're in the playoffs either last year or even 2 years ago, like I think you still have more room to grow there. Like I don't think this is the top of the mountain for that Phillies team. Now for certain guys, of course, like Ranger, he's looked great and I get it playoff wise, you know, he's one of those guys I trust on the mound just as much as anybody, but I think there's still plenty of room to improve for the Phillies. Like you talked about Castellanos earlier. JT felt like it was taking him a while to get it going too. So, I mean, I think the Phillies have room to improve too. So that race is just going to be tight down the stretch.
It'll be a fun race.
Well, we'll switch from there to superstars who are doing what they're supposed to. Shohei Ohtani's incredible pace that he's on right now. Last 2 weeks, if you don't follow the Dodgers, with them being on the West Coast, I get it, but the man has been almost impossible to get out for the last 2 weeks. He had like 5 home runs in like 3 games. He's hitting doubles, RBIs everywhere. How much of this pace can he keep up?
I mean, if the only thing he's focused on is hitting, I think he can keep it up almost all year. I think he can finish batting over 350 for a season, which is absurd to think of. You were talking about a guy batted 340 when he had to pitch every 5th day. And he had to focus on pitching too. The only thing this guy's focused on is hitting the baseball. And here's the scary part. He's not even the best player on his team this year. Mookie Betts is.
Which doesn't agree.
You don't agree?
I'm a Mookie guy. I picked Mookie before the year
to got better WAR. He's got 9 points less batting average. He has more. He's got a better on base percentage. Like, what would you like to look at? Because he's got 5 less home runs.
No, it's not even that. But I mean, I think Shohei is going to have a chance to win the Triple Crown this year. And if that's the case, like it's going to be tough for me to say a guy who won the Triple Crown is the second best player on his own team. And I get it. Right now, he's not leading. What'd you say?
He's the 3rd most RBIs on his team. You're talking about the guys who won the Triple Crown.
No. I'm not saying he's for sure going to win it. I'm just saying like he's going to be in the discussion for it. I mean, if the guy is batting, if you think he's going to bat 350 and he's smacking, I think it'd be fair to say 50 home runs or so this year. Like I think he's going to be up there in RBIs when everybody on his team gets on base. So I'm just saying, I think when that all comes into it, you go, let's just be nice.
What I said was 39 games. He's not the best player on his team right now. Is what I said.
Okay. That's I guess that's fair. That's fair to say. I'm just saying I'm looking for it as like a total picture kind of thing. But regardless, I think Shohei has been absolutely incredible. And it almost felt like right away that first week, of course, overreactions. It felt like Mookie was about to run away with the MVP. Like that's what it really felt like. It was like the Soul Series. Mookie looked like he was about to bat 500 for the year, steal bases, have 40 plus home runs, score 150 runs. Like, but Shohei is letting all his cards out there, and he's doing all this while all the controversy on the side is going on behind the scenes about his interpreter, news stories every day, and all that stuff.
The guy admitted guilt. No more controversy.
Yeah, but I'm saying like more stories. Like the story even came out today. Like he was wiring money to some movie star or something to try and fix his gambling debt. And Shohei's just like, hey, I'm just here to play baseball and keep it moving.
Listen, damn shame about Trout. We agree, but it's the same story the last 5 years. Next question.
It's crazy because he's still second in the league in home runs too.
I know. 227 too.
Yankees caught him in the same boat, missing their ace. Baltimore's back on top. I think they're the best team in the East. I don't think it's relatively that close. How long can New York wait for Garrett Cole before they have to go out and do something to keep pace with Baltimore?
I don't think even with Garrett Cole, they're keeping pace with Baltimore, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think that you've seen the worst version of Jackson Holiday that you're ever going to see in the major leagues. Your Adley Rushman is playing great, but Gunnar Henderson's way below his average. Santander's way below his average. I think Baltimore's the better team, and I think New York will keep it close, right? Like, I think they'll keep it close all year with or without Garrett Cole because their lineup is just loaded. Like, they were in first place with Judge hitting 190. Now Judge is starting to hit. Soto's still batting 330. Like, it's a real thing, dude. Like, they're very good. Their lineup's very good.
Gene, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Baltimore being where they're at right now, knowing they caught up Jackson Holiday and all the potential that he has, and he's struggled to say the least, being up in the majors. I think that really shows you that this is going to be Baltimore's division, not just this year, but for the foreseeable future. Love what they have going on. And you talk about them hitting. I think the Yankees, with the way that they hit, that's what's going to keep them in contention here. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to some pitching as well. And Baltimore has that. The Yankees don't. So I think the Yankees make a move to go get a pitcher too. I don't think it's going to be a big splash, but I think they get a guy that they could probably try and, be a for sure top of their rotation, like a 2 or a 3, to get them over the hump.
I'll tell you right now, a name that's going to be on the move come trade deadline? Sixto Sanchez. The way the Miami Marlins have played this year, they are going to trade him, and they were going to cut bait as fast as humanly possible.
I mean, they already kind of said they've given up on this year. They just traded what's-his-face to San Diego.
Yep.
Reyes. So, next one. I mean, and seeing it kind of firsthand this weekend. How long can Toronto wait to get back in it or just blow it up?
They need to blow it up. They need to blow it up now. That roster is just not playing well together. They haven't. You got Bo Bichette that looking completely lost at the plate. And here's the problem that drives me nuts about Bo Bichette, right? Stop moving him in the friggin' order. Drop him down. Don't go 2, 4, 5. He batted 3 different places in the order in 3 different games. Like, what are we doing? Like, give him a place to feel comfortable, or don't bat him in the top 5 in a lineup. That doesn't make sense. Drop him the lineup to 7th or 8th and allow him to find his swing, or don't move him.
I agree with the sentiment that you blow it up, but I don't blow it up this year. I think you stay pat, see how everything falls. It's going to be a case where they're either going to be this year's San Diego from last year that had all the talent in the world and just underachieved the entire year, or maybe they could be a team that turns it around in the second half of the year and, make the playoff push. You saw it last year. Toronto was a team, they came on late last year, and they seemed like at the time, at least, that they could be a dangerous team. They just got Manoah back. I know he didn't look great in his first outing. He got shelled.
He did not.
But that's I think we've seen him at his best though. Like, he can be an ace in a rotation. So I think they just have to get their guys going and see how this season rolls out. I don't think it's smart for them to be overly aggressive at the deadline, just because this could be a season where they still stink and don't make the playoffs, and then they're losing out on some of their prospects. But I would keep it how it is now, see how your cards may lie, and then at the end of the season, if it goes south and you don't make the playoffs, then I blow it up.
Well, good shot. Right now they're in last place in that division. The only reason I disagree with it, I don't think you can let it go another year knowing you have to pay certain people on that team next year. And I think some of them you could trade and get pieces back if you're going to try to do like a mini rebuild. But they're just underperforming. I still don't think they have the pitching to compete in that division. And like I said, the biggest issue you have is Baltimore. Baltimore is stacked with kids that they're not paying anything right now. That lineup is going to be exactly the same for the next 4 years before they have to start extending people. And not to mention, if they keep selling out, they're going to have more revenue. They're going to bring bigger, Corbin Burns won't be the last big name they bring in. So I think all those teams, if they're being realistic, outside the Yankees, because they're set to win now, obviously with that lineup. But I think the other three teams, if your measuring stick has to be what Baltimore's doing. Because if you're not ready to compete with them right now, you need to figure out how you compete with them in 2 years. Because they're just going to get better. They're going to continue to get better. That's the scary part. None of those kids are at their ceiling yet. Not one of them, including Adley. Adley hasn't had his career year yet. Like, that team is just going to keep getting better. If I'm Toronto, I mean, I don't think you could trade Vlad, but you could probably get a haul for him. I don't know about Bichette and all those guys, but Springer and Kiermaier and all those guys, those are the guys I think you have to start listening to phone calls for if people are calling.
I really want a guy batting 206 in the leadoff hole. Jesus Christ.
I get it, but
no, just they're going to sell them pennies on the dollar right now, and that sucks.
And I guess the flip side of that is if you get back, just these average prospects in return, just to get something to salvage, something out of it, is that worth? I mean, I think this Toronto lineup as is talent wise, like they can be a playoff team. Like we all had Toronto going to the playoffs before the start of this year. Like I think they can be a playoff team if they get it going. So like I just don't know if it's worth the gamble to just give up on those guys when we've seen last year the run they went on at the end of the year as well. Like they can that's a team that can reel off 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 12 and things like that. Like, you said 4 games?
That's it.
Yeah, like that's I wouldn't blow it up based off of that.
I hear you.
Especially for a team that can make a run like they can, because we've seen it.
Okay.
Last one I got. Paul Skeens got the news that he's getting called up. Last year's number 1 overall pick, going to start on Saturday, I think. If you follow baseball at all, you know who he is. Went to LSU. The kid just routinely throws 100 miles an hour. Dirty stuff. Pittsburgh Pirates, they'll probably play there for 3 years and they'll trade him, but they won't afford him. But it's just unfortunate. But how excited are you to finally see him in the big leagues? And what do you think? How do you think he finishes the rest of the year?
Listen, I never thought I'd say this in my entire life, but I'm excited to watch some Pittsburgh Pirate teams. O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes. You got this kid coming up. I think that the Pirates are exciting, and they're around 500. They're not far out of the wild card. This kid comes out and pitches well. I think that the Pirates can be competitive this year, and I think it's fun to watch. I think getting the city of Pittsburgh involved in their baseball team wouldn't be the worst idea for Pittsburgh.
Agreed. And I think the other thing, I mean, you talk about like following Paul and things like that throughout the minors. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. I'm surprised it's taken this long for them to call him up. Like if you look at the fastest pitches thrown in the minor leagues, like the top 60 out of 65 pitches are all from like Paul Skeens. Like he's been absolutely incredible down there. Last I looked, at least he had a sub-1 ERA. I don't know if he's still there after his last couple starts, but he's been absolutely incredible down there. And I'm curious to see how he looks when he comes up. I think if nothing else, he's just going to be one of those guys that's, fun to watch and bring some excitement to the game just because of how hard he throws. It really reminds me of when the Nationals first brought up Strasburg and, you knew he was the 100+ mile an hour pitcher and you wanted to see how he performed. And, you weren't disappointed then. I'm that kind of excited to see Paul on the mound for the Pirates.
I know that no one will ever get close to the 138 record for stolen bases. But do you think Ellie De La Cruz can steal 80 bases this year?
I was going to say he's on pace for like 94 or something like that. I think yes.
That is an absurd number. He has 19 stolen bases, 35 games into the season.
I think he can. I think the new rules with the way the pitchers have to go and everything, it makes it easier for guys to steal bases with the pitch clock. That being said, stealing them now versus stealing them in July and August and September when it's, hot as hell, and those guys tend to slow down a little bit. I think 80 is an attainable number, though. He's got to continue to get on base, at the clip that he is now to have those shots. But, I think it's doable.
Acuna last year had, what, 72?
I thought he had 62. I could be wrong, though.
I thought Acuna was in the 70s last year.
Could be.
But with just knowing how high Acuna got last year, I think Ellie could do it this year.
73 last year, number 1 in baseball.
There you go. The difference is, Acuna had an OBP of probably around 40%. I don't think Ellie's going to have that. So
true.
It becomes difficult to constantly steal them. If you're hitting 235 and middle of the road. But we'll see. He's had a good start to the season. He's been all over the place in the field, but offensively, he's gotten better.
He's definitely an adventure out in the field, to say the least. I don't know. Honestly, he'd be the type of guy at first base where there'd be some throws and I would just not even attempt at them. Like, where is that ball?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not catching that.
Maybe you see a center field move in his future.
I mean,
he threw the one the other day, 15 feet wide of the first baseman.
I don't know how it's possible. Like, what's further off? Ellie De La Cruz's errors at first base or Angel Hernandez's strike zone?
Yeah. Nothing's worse than Angel Hernandez.
Bro, he called a pitch that was 6.23 inches outside a strike this past week.
He's awful.
I don't even know how it's possible. Do you realize how much 6.23 inches is? To be that far off the plate and get called a strike, it's almost absurd. Like, in my eyes, I'm not kidding with you. I umpire slow pitch softball. In my eyes, I'd be like, I never could umpire Major League Baseball. Like, it's such a quick game. The pitches are so fast. Angel Hernandez gives me hope. He does.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would go in. It might take me a few weeks, but like, if you gave me like a month, 2 months of training, I don't think I could be worse than him.
Takes a lot longer than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. But my point being is, I don't know if I could be worse than him. He's awful.
I just don't know why they won't fire him.
The umpires union, that's why. It's a joke.
I just don't know what the leg to stand on would be at this point.
Well, if you don't want to bring it up, I'll bring it up. The Houston Astros are 12-23. Is their season over?
No, don't hit the panic button.
What?
No.
I'm not gonna say no, but at the same time, I would say that I'm more concerned than I thought I would be at this point. Because it's not even like they're playing well, just losing like close games. Like, they're just not playing well. They're below. I think they're still below the Angels, for Christ's sake, in the standings. So,
oh yeah, they're below the Angels, the Athletics. They're last place in their division.
I thought once Verlander came back and everything, you would at least see a little bit of a spark, and kind of get back on the right track and not going like some 10-game win streak and get back to 500 or anything like that, but at least start winning series consistently or win 3 out of 4, stuff like that. And it's just not there. Just not there.
I say don't write them off just quite yet, only because they haven't played together as long as they could have been all season. Talk about Verlander coming back. Obviously, he's not going to just come back and be the Cy Young pitcher that he was a couple years ago. And they're not playing well. I think that's as clear as day. But we've seen what this. Well. But we've seen what this. We've seen what this team can do. This is a lineup who, one of us had Yordan Alvarez MVP. I don't remember who it was on the AL side. So we think he could be that caliber player. And they got guys, I think they just have way too much talent for me to hit the panic button. Because again, just like I talked about with the Blue Jays, I think this is a team that if they won 10 of 12 or something like that, and they're right back at 500, I trust them as much as I trust anybody else in the MLB to put it together and win some games. So 11 games back of 500 sounds awful. I get it, especially when you're below teams like the Angels and the A's. But at the end of the day, I think this is the team that's more than capable of turning it around with the talent they have.
I think this might be the worst 32-game stretch that Alex Bregman has ever played in his entire life, like including high school, little league. When he came up, he's batting 195 with 1 home run through 32 games. I don't even know how it's possible for a player with Alex Bregman's stature to be playing that bad. And Alex is right. They're only 7.5 games back in the division because no one's taking that division. Like people think the A's have a chance to win the division. They're comparing them to Major League and like the Indians. They're selling the team and they're doing it despite them and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. But that's how bad the American League West is right now. But I still think the Mariners and Rangers, I think it's their division. I think they run away with it. And I think that the Astros really have no – Framber's not looked the same in a year and a half.
No. Framber has I don't want to say anything out of pocket, but I just find it very hard to believe that, once the checking and everything started, his velo and his spin rates have just dropped off the table. He hasn't looked good at all. I thought last year maybe it was an arm injury, and that was going to kind of come out later, but that wasn't the case at all. I mean, he's just not – his stuff is not what it was 2 years ago.
I think their entire rotation is just in shambles right now. Their best pitcher right now is Ronel Blanco. That's a terrible thing. He's pitching well, by the way, but
yes.
All right.
I think if you tell me through 80 games that Verlander doesn't look just even like a shell of his old self, Framber doesn't look a shell of his old self, and then Christian Javier has actually been pitching well so far this year too. Like, I think that's a rotation that can win you games. And if you're putting out those 4 or 5 guys, every week, like, I think you're going to have a shot to win a lot of games, especially when you got Hader in the bullpen to close things down. Like, teams got to hit. Gene, you talk about it with the Phillies, the summertime's rolling around. It's going to be hitting weather. Those bats are going to come alive. And I mean, I'll be very curious to see what they look like.
If you're out there listening in Facebook land or Twitter land or YouTube or Twitch, I need you to do me a favor and tag your followers, share the show, like the show, do something. We have never, and this would be a record, which is show 187, had 100 live listeners at one shot. Right now we're at 93. If you could somehow help us get to 100, that would mean the world to us. It would be the first time in 187 shows where we had 100 live listeners at once. So if you're listening, I'd appreciate a share. I'd appreciate a tag your followers. I appreciate that. Sorry, back to what we're talking about. I guess that's frowned upon. I guess I'm begging for followers. Some dork would say that. But let's move off MLB. We got to talk about UFC. We're going to get some questions in. Guys, this sounds really terrible, and this might sound terrible to you guys. I didn't watch the card. I still haven't watched it. I had better things to do. I'm not kidding with you. Like, if the UFC is going to put out cards like this, I have no interest in supporting them. Like, this should have been a fight night. I shouldn't have to pay ESPN Plus 9. And I don't steal the fights, right? I don't do that. So this should have been a fight night. And if you're going to make me pay for a card like this, I'm not going to do it. I'm done with it. I'm not doing it anymore. So I didn't watch it. From the numbers, it looked like Ursag gave Pantoja a decent fight. I know Cottrell probably watched it. You guys were spot on with Jose Aldo. Let's give him all the credit in the world. Jose Aldo dominated in Brazil. I'm going to stop there. Anthony Lionheart-Smith got a win over an 11-0 Vitor Petrino. It tells you how good Vitor Petrino was. Lionheart-Smith in fight 60 got a guillotine win in 2 minutes. Like, what are we doing right now? It's a terrible card. It was a card that featured Paul Craig in the opening fight. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I think there's average MMA fighters that can beat up Paul Craig. He stinks. He stunk for 3 years.
You're on that Paul Craig hate train too, because I was the captain of that boat.
You were the captain. And it's funny. I really didn't pay attention to it until you were the captain of the boat. And then he lost 4 out of when he lost to Johnny Walker Blue in the first round. I was like, this guy stinks. Yeah. Stinks.
He was definitely a fraud. But as far as this card goes, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I watched the co-main and the main, and I watched it afterwards. I didn't even see it live. Jose looked great, but as great as he looked, I still think that really should be the end of it for him. Like, I just don't. There's no reason for him to keep fighting just for the sport, especially at his age and how much he's gone through to this point. But I think that just went out and showed you that he can compete with the guys that are in the division right now. I just don't think he's championship caliber. But then as far as the championship fight went, Ursa, give him credit. He definitely, especially for a guy who was ranked 10, he won a couple rounds in my book. I had him. Well, actually, I only gave him one. I gave him the 4th round. I know a lot of judges gave him the 2nd round and the 4th round, but personally, I had it. Pantoja winning 1, 2, 3, and 5. It was really as expected, though. I thought Pantoja would come out and look dominant as a champion, and I mean, for the most part, that's what it was. But this was a dud. Dave, you got it spot on. UFC 300 card, they hyped this up, and then you give us this as like the letdown, and that's exactly what it was. So, better cards in the future here. Gene, you didn't miss much, but it was just nothing special.
Shally, did you go out of your way to watch UFC 301?
No, I didn't pay for it. I stole that shit.
Okay, but you still watched it.
I watched the replay of it.
Okay,
I didn't watch it live.
You did way more than I did. I did no prep.
Did the same thing Cottrell did. I just went to the last 2 fights and watched them. My opinion on Jose is the same. I'm glad he won. I thought he looked pretty sharp. He's just facing a guy that it's just not an elite caliber type fighter. I would have loved being in Brazil, like I said on last week's show. If he just would have hung it up there, I think it'd been a great a great tip of the cap to his career and it in front of his home fans. I think that'd have been great because I agree with Cottrell. I think with the guys ahead of him, he just doesn't. I don't think he has a run in him. I don't. And then I think you're going to put him in. You're going to put him somewhere against one of these top 2 or 3 guys, and I think he's going to get smoked. And I just don't want that to be the last thing like we see of Aldo. I think he deserves better than that. Regards to Pantoja, Usyk, same thing. I think Pantoja came out, fought a smart fight, a safe fight. Knew there wasn't really anywhere Usyk was gonna kill him or destroy him. I had it 4-1, just like Cottrell did. It's just not a lot to write home about. This is kind of a filler card. I know why they did it. With it being in Brazil, there's a ton of Brazilian fighters. I'm sure they did, a lot of buys down there. But for the U.S. market, and everybody else, I mean, if you paid for that, you're nuts. But it was, like I said, it's a filler card. 300 was great, and then you got Connor at 303, I think. So I mean, it's a filler card to get to there. So that's really all to say about it. I don't think you really need to spend a ton more time on it.
Nope. I'm ready to open questions, baby. 302 should be a lot better. 302 should be a lot better. You got Islam versus Dustin Poirier, Paulo Costa versus Strickland. Which, by the way, Paulo Costa doesn't deserve that fight, but FYI, just an opinion. But Kopylov's fighting again. I think it'll be a much better card, 302. So the UFC has heard my cries, and they've made a couple better cards.
And at 303, we get ready for the chaos.
Yeah, I'm ready for the chaos.
Potentially, quite literally. I feel like we're going to get Colby, Ian, Gary on that card. I feel like that's what's coming too.
That could be interesting.
Dana was at the Brady roast. He was, which, by the way, before we can't go too far without talking about that, right?
Best roast ever.
It was the best roast.
I haven't seen it yet.
It was the best roast.
If
you
you
haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Like when you get off here, like when you're playing Madden tonight or whatever you're doing, play it on and listen, and you're gonna die laughing.
I heard it was good.
It's 3 hours long. It's gonna take a little bit of your time. It's worth every minute of it though.
And no one was bad.
Kim was bad, but
Kim was bad, but Kim was entertaining for what happened. And the one-liner she gave about my family's defended enough pro football players, I thought was hilarious.
It was. I think there was no reason for her to be there other than a publicity stunt. She really has no connection with Tom Brady, but
their connection was that people thought they were dating.
Yeah, but it turns out they weren't. But then even, it turned out they wanted her to sit on stage, and she was like, "I'm not sitting up there." She was just doing Kim stuff. I can't stand her, but
I'm not a Kim
I thought it was
fan either.
I thought it was funny that if you watched it live, she got booed pretty heavily, and as soon as it was over, they edited a lot of it out. But it's fantastic, man. It's the best roast I've ever seen. I don't think it's relatively close. I would say every single person except maybe one just absolutely killed.
I did see like a snippet of, I forgot who it was telling the joke, but Tom going up to him afterwards and saying, "Hey, don't you say that shit again." Yeah. It was a Robert Kraft joke.
That was Jeff Ross. He was the first one out.
Jeff Ross said something about Bob Kraft, which, by the way, the more and more reports that you hear afterwards, they hid the fact that Robert Kraft was going to be there. And nobody knew until the day of, so they couldn't plan jokes for them. And when he went up there and he said a Robert Kraft joke, Brady walked up. He's like, "Dude, enough of that shit." And like afterwards, Jeff Ross played it off. He's like, he was kidding. It was all a joke. But like Julian Edelman was on a podcast later with Drew Bledsoe, and they basically said Tom was for real. He did not want that getting out there. And then they talked about the fact that they didn't know Robert Kraft was going to be there. And the really funny part, and what I want you to pay attention to when you watch it, is how far they have Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick sitting from each other. They made it really funny. Like Nikki Glaser was by far the best, though.
The best.
I agree with you.
Murdered. She was incredible.
Dempsey, I feel like LeBron would be absolutely hilarious, especially if. I mean,
I'll tell you what, dude.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But that would be hilarious
to sit up there and take that for a half an hour or for 3 hours. I don't think LeBron can do it. I don't.
You know, it's funny. I would have so much more respect for LeBron if he did.
Same. Not gonna lie. If he did it, I would be impressed. I would. Again, I don't dislike LeBron as much as we talk bad about him on the show. I really don't dislike him, but I would be impressed if he did it.
Sorry, guys. If you just see me take a picture of the screen, thank you guys so much. First time ever that this show has had over 100 live listeners. Thank you, Elon. And I'm not sorry. It's awesome. We've had 10,000 listens before on an episode, but we've never had over 100 live at one shot. And I appreciate everybody for that. So thank you guys.
I was laughing at the Dempsey's going at it about who's the better Dempsey.
So LeBron would be the one I want the roast to be about. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't think he would do it. I think he's scared to do that.
I'd agree.
I think that like somebody like Travis Kelce would do it. He'd welcome it.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be someone fun to do it, and they can make fun of Taylor Swift and like his ex-girlfriend, how he switched up from dude, listen, funny story, but he switched up from like he looked like a dude that dated black girls when he dated a black girl. And then he dated Taylor Swift and he looked like a highway officer. His whole look changed. I mean, like, am I lying? I think it'd be hilarious if it was Travis.
I will say the one thing about that, though, is that, if Travis does it, he's going to have to get permission from Taylor to do that because probably 50% of those jokes are going to be about her. See, Brady had the luxury of now being a divorced man. Like, screw it. You can air out all my dirty laundry. Man,
I get it, but the Giselle stuff that was on that roast was.
I heard it was a lot. No, I heard what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is Tom wouldn't have been able to do that if he was still married. Like even if it was just like like rumors and stuff. That was he wouldn't have been able to do that if he was married.
All
I
right,
don't know. All I'll tell you is go watch it. That's all I'll tell you. It's worth every damn minute that you'll spend watching it.
let's move on to listener questions. We got a little bit of time, and we'll do 3 of them tonight.
Jose Canseco, Charles
Barkley would be a great one. That would be a
good one because I think the stories that would come out if Barkley did it would be some legendary stuff. They kind of already did. Shaq.
That was a line, by the way, Kittrell. That was a line on the roast.
Yeah. That was from Nikki Glazer. She's like 3rd or 4th, I think. She was the best. She was the best in my opinion.
The Bitcoin line, I was dying. I was in tears.
Yep. She had Gronk laughing. Kevin Hart gave her standing. Oh, dude, she just murdered.
Kevin Hart got up after Nikki Glazer and repeated Nikki Glazer's joke. How funny it was. Did you hear? And I'll air this one because this wasn't. I don't want to ruin it for Cottrell. But Nikki Glazer went on Howard Stern and then she went on. Did you hear the joke that she left out?
Yes.
The CTE one.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, that would have been chill, bro. Like, do you know how many millions of dollars in the CTE research? Do you know how much millions of dollars it costs to kill those doctors that know the truth? I was dying, bro. I was in tears. All right, so let's move on to fan questions. I'm going to read off the one Chris Hackney asked because I really want to get into this. Will the WNBA get it right? Already missed on Angel and Camilla preseason debut. First time they've had this star power. Can they leverage it for ratings and attendance?
Here's what I'll tell you. In my opinion, I think a preseason game doesn't matter. This is not where they're going to kill in ratings because you still have the NBA playoffs going on. And, for lack of a better word, so you still have the NHL playoffs going on, which have been incredible. But I think they have to know, where to hit their pockets. And I think once the NBA is over, then I think you're going to see a plethora of – you're going to get nauseous of seeing Caitlin Clark everywhere. They already said, 11 of their games are going to be, the national game of the year. They just I know I saw today that they're going to give them charter flights for the rest of the season. So they're trying. I got to give them credit for that. They're trying to do the right thing. We'll see if it pays off. The bottom line is it's like anything else. That league has lost money in the last 5 years. Every year they got to get people to show up. If they get people to show up and profitable, I think the sky's the limit for that league because they do have the star power and they have people that are kind of household names now. People know who Caitlin Clark is. People know who Angel Reese are. The casual sports fan knows who those two women are. So. I think they have the opportunity. I think that some of the people they brought in for marketing and everything. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for right now. I think they know what they're doing, and I think they're going to be okay. I think you'll see by the end of this year that they probably viewership wise and everything they probably break every record they have.
I agree with you, but the question was they missed the pocket where they televised Caitlin Clark's first game, but not Angel Reese's or Kim Cardoza's. I think that you're right in the sense that preseason doesn't matter as much, but their first games should have been televised, especially all those WNBA stars that are coming directly out of college. I think they would have got a lot more people. All you got to do is go back and look at, and now granted, Caitlin Clark was in the game, but if you look at some of LSU's games down the stretch, with Angel Reese, without playing Iowa, they were still heavily televised games. Bayou Barbie is star power. She's not Caitlin Clark. She's not. But she's star power.
She's star power to the casual fan, which is what they need.
Correct.
And
okay.
No, go ahead, Gene.
I just meant that I wanted to put that out there. I do think they missed the boat there. I do. But with that being said, I'd like to see how they start the regular season. And they can make up for it. It's an easy fix still, so I don't want to go nuts about it yet.
I do think it's an easy fix, but I also think part of the problem is that this stuff takes time to figure out. Obviously, you have ESPN has a deal with the WNBA and they can air their games and things like that, but I don't know if they have it set up like with the NBA. It's easy, right? Because you'll have, a baseball game on ESPN and it's like, oh, well, ESPN, they also have basketball rights. But if these players aren't playing on ESPN, then you can play on TNT or we can throw you on, other channels to see. You got Game Pass and your local sports stations and things like that. But that's just not quite the case yet with the WNBA. I do think they've missed an opportunity, showcasing Angel and Camilla, especially because they're on the same team. Like Chicago's full of stars. So I do think they missed an opportunity there. And I think there's other stars across the league too, especially considering the fact that it was Angel Reese going up against Brianna Stewart. And they blew them out. So I do think that was
it was a preseason game. Brianna Stewart played
No, I know. But I'm just saying they won by 40.
Yes.
Stewie didn't play a lot. Angel Reese, I think she had 13-5, 13-6, something like that. But regardless, point being is that this is stuff that people would have watched, especially if you would have marketed better. I think honestly, the bigger problem is you don't get it sounds bad, but you don't get a break from women's basketball. It's literally the March Madness ended. They go into the draft a week later, and then boom, the WNBA starts right away.
And they have to. They want to capitalize. They don't want their playoffs to run against the NBA's regular season. They try to capitalize on non-basketball months. That's why they do it that way.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm a college basketball player, but that's the truth.
I get it 100%, but I'm just saying as far as so college on the men's side, they kind of get it easy because it's people care about the NBA in March, things like that. You're getting close to playoff time, but during March, in reality, college basketball is the biggest show in town. And for the women, it's the same way. Yeah. But now for the WNBA players, it's hey, you're up against baseball earlier on in the year. Basketball's finishing up. And then I understand in the summertime, June, July, everything else is going to be done. They're going to be the only show in town. But it's tough, and I don't know how you fix it, but I think that's a big part of the problem as well. People are doing, we see it with our show. People are doing crazy things in the summertime. They're not, investing in watching TV or things like that. So, it's just one of the things you got to figure out a solution to it.
I think what also hurts, but it's not hurting ESPN, but it's tying their hands a little bit. With them having hockey again, they're playing, the playoffs are on those two channels every night. Obviously, they won the rights to hockey, the NHL 2 years ago, right at the beginning. So it's just kind of bad timing. Obviously back then, I don't think anybody would have, thought Caitlin Clark and all this was going to be this big. And now that it was, they just don't have the airtime right now to put them on either.
They need another network to step in and help, basically. Whether it be NBC, Turner, with TNT and TBS, they need somebody else to help.
Well, TNT and TBS is not going to be it. The one thing I did hear is, especially with the writer's strike and all the network shows being shorter this season, they're talking about putting WNBA games on ABC during the week, showcasing the game there. So if that happens, I think that would be great for them as well.
All right, real quick, I want to go rapid fire. Just a couple more questions. Danny Dempsey asked, will Jokic go down as the greatest big man of all time? If so, what spot? I think his ceiling is 4. I think he'll be behind Kareem, Wilt, and Shaq.
That's definitely his ceiling, and I don't even know if he gets there. 3 MVPs definitely gets you a big nod. You're seeing it this year how tough it is to win in the NBA. I don't know. And he's got more time to win. So many stars. It's so hard to win in this league now. I don't know. Depending on where he finishes, I think he'll be right there with Hakeem.
Yeah. I think when it's all said and done, I think he passes Hakeem as great as he was. I think it's at some point you have to look at accolades and titles and all that crap too. So I don't think he passes Shaq, Wilt, or Kareem, though.
I want to answer this one real quick. The greatest thing ever would be the process. With Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, he said, what sports athlete or team would you like them to do a 30 for 30 about? I want it to be on the process. Markel Fultz, the mistakes they made, Ben Simmons, the mental mistakes they made. I would love a 30 for 30 on the process, not processing.
I will second that, but since you said that, I'll give you a different one. I think all the nonsense with the PGA Tour right now, I would watch.
That would potentially be a fun
all
one.
with all the live stuff. They've touched on it a little bit with full swing and everything, which is amazing. But 30 to 30 kind of gets into all the nitty gritty and doesn't really leave stuff out. I would love to see a 30 for 30 on the nonsense of the last 2 years.
For me now, it would be I would do it NIL based, but the highlight would be about Reggie Bush getting his Heisman back. Like that's how I would kind of phrase it.
I love that. All right, let's move on to You Gotta Be Kidding Me.
Cottrell? We did have one other fan question on Facebook. I just want to make sure that we hit on it.
All right.
Your favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Oh, NFL?
It said top 3, but we'll just go your favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Caleb Williams. He's quarterback.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it's not Caleb. I think JJ is an active long shot, but it's going to be Caleb.
I think it's Caleb, and then we'll follow up with Marvin Harrison Jr.'s too.
I think you'll be hard pressed for Caleb not to win. I think he's in the best situation, and I think he's the best talent.
All right, let's move on to You Gotta Be Kidding Me.
All right, so I will of course start us off here. Is mine this week. I have Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets. I mean, it could be for a plethora of things. I mean, let's start by in the game he threw a fit. He threw a heating pad onto the court. While it was going on, he was in the refs' faces, screaming at him. He's talking to his dad during the middle of the game as well. Like, this is talk about a guy that's not locked in. That is Jamal Murray. And this is a guy who's coming off of the previous week where he was hitting game winners and he was in front of everybody. Like, this is what dreams are made of. And I've always wanted to do this. Like, he was like the media prince. And then he has this game where he struggles, and after the game, he decides to decline his media availability. So for me this week, Jamal Murray, you can't just be big and bad when things are going well for you. You also got to take your licks when things get going rough. So this week for me, Jamal Murray being a little soft with everything, the heating pad, and declining media availability.
Kidding me.
Excuse me.
Towel first.
I'm going with MLB officiating. I'm tired of it. It's awful. Rob Manfred needs to do something, or they need to get rid of him ASAP. There was a plethora of things you could have used from this past week. You mentioned Angel Hernandez, who just routinely just misses calls by half a foot.
CB Buckner's terrible.
CB Buckner's terrible. They just got a lot of older guys they need to get rid of. Then there was the infamous play from the Mets game early this week. Pete Alonso tags up, slides home. They reviewed for 2 separate things for blocking, which you could argue he did or didn't, but it just has nothing to do with the play because Pete Alonso was clearly safe, and they still called him out. They said it wasn't conclusive. Pick any dead relative could look at that play and call Pete Alonso safe. Everybody in the world knew it. Anybody who was involved with calling that play safe, they should all be fired immediately. You can't tell me with the technology they have, and they have 8 different camera views, they all would have shown he was clearly safe, and they still called him out. Cost the Mets the game, which in the end, I don't care because I hate the Mets. But that being said, MLB officiating is just ruining baseball. It's right up there with Rob Manfred for me. It sucks. They got to get rid of some of these guys. They just got to go. If the Major League Umpires Union want to sue Major League Baseball, then let them do it. It'll tie up in courts forever. And at the end of the day, when you go in front of a jury, you're just going to sit there and show Angel Hernandez missing call after call after call after call and be like, that's why we fired him, because he sucks. It's really not that hard. So MLB officiating for the first time this year probably won't be the last time. You got to be kidding me.
Kidding me.
Mine is too good. I have a video for you guys. Greg Amsinger from the MLB Network made one of the most bonehead calls in the history of baseball. Cottrell, if you don't mind playing the video.
We are already a no-hitter alert.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto before he throws a single pitch tonight against the Marlins. We have a no-hitter alert.
Okay.
Enjoy what could be a no-hitter from Yamamoto.
You know Jazz swing your first pitch.
Right here on MLB Network for Harold. See why I'm Greg. We have a no-hitter alert. Enjoy this game live on MLB Network.
Boy, you're crazy.
It's in the major leagues to establish himself as that guy. Dodgers looking for a 6th straight win and a 13th out of their last 15 after they took the first game 6-3 last night. Yamamoto comes home and off we go, and the aggressive Marlins get a first pitch swing and a high fly ball and a home run for Jazz Chisholm on the first pitch.
If that's not it, you got to be kidding me. I don't know what is. The guy called a no-hitter before the game, and the first pitch of the game, the no-hitter was gone. The perfect game was gone. The shutout was gone. That's my you got to be kidding me this week.
Kidding me.
That's all we got. Any final comments, guys? We're 2 minutes past already.
I got nothing.
I got nothing either. Next week's gonna be one of those Shally shows, though. I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
PGA Championship, the Preakness, be a Shally type show.
I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in this week. All the shares, all the follows, 116 live listeners between all platforms. This is the best live show we've ever done. So I know it doesn't sound like a lot to everybody, but that's a lot to us, man. 116 live is huge. We appreciate your support. We appreciate everybody in the comments, from Kyle to Dave to Nick Reyes to everybody that's been in the comments all night. Dempsey's always. Appreciate you guys. Hackney. But appreciate everybody that tuned in. Thank you for listening to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. And like show 187, we killed it.